Here we have a map of a zoomed in section around the Bear Lake area of Rocky Mtn National Park. You can see we have some lakes, streams, vegetation, and trails in the map. And it's nicely symbolized and it looks pretty good. But if you were to start from scratch and add the layers one at a time, you would start out with something that looks like this. And this does not look very nice. So how do you go from this to this? Let's go through the steps. In this map, we have several things happening. Vegetation has been symbolized with colors that kind of make sense for the land cover type. Vegetation polygons have been given a transparency. Vegetation polygons do not have an outline. The trails have been given a dashed line. The streams and the lakes have pretty much the same color, but then the lakes also have a gradient fill in it. And underneath the vegetation, we have a terrain base map so we can see the shaded relief and have some texture on the map. So let's go here and go through each of those things and make that map. Let's start with Bear Lake. We're going to use, from appearance, symbology, unique values, we're going to use unique values, and we have a column in the table called Cover 1. So this is just a generalized land cover. It doesn't have every specific type, and that's all we need. But we do need to change the colors to something that makes a little more sense. What we can do is right here, dense tree. We can right-click in this patch and pick a dark green color. For low shrub, we can pick some type of beige color. Open tree, maybe a lighter green. And for open, which would be tundra, we can go some type of pale yellow or maybe even a gray. But that's still not really what we want. We want to take away the outlines to make it look a little bit smoother. So what I'm going to do is on the right side of my symbology pane, go to More, Format All Symbols, so I can make changes in bulk that will impact all 4 of those types. And I'm going to make my outline width be 0. But I still need to make it transparent so I can see the terrain underneath. So again, I'm going to click on the layer, go up to Appearance, and I'm going to change my transparency to about 50. You can also type in 50 if you need it to be exact. I've changed my open color to more of a beigey peach color, so it looks a little bit better. Next thing to change will be the streams. So for streams, we can go and just pick a blue shade. Now we have blue streams. For lakes, we could do the same thing. We could go and pick that same shade of blue. However, the lakes would look nicer if they had that gradient fill. So for that, we can go to the right, click on the symbol patch, and then we want to click on the middle button here where we can actually get to the layers and get to the outline separate from the fill. So instead of a solid fill, we want to do a gradient fill. And we want to pick 2 shades of blue that would look nice. So we want to pick the same blue that we had already, and then maybe just a lighter shade of blue. So the best thing to do, instead of this white, the best thing to do is pick that same shade of blue, and then go back into Color Properties, change the color model to HSV, that's hue saturation value. And we just want to change the saturation to make it a little bit lighter. So that way the color is in the same family, it's just a little bit paler. And then hit OK. Now we can see a sample on the bottom of what it will look like. It looks a little bit rough, so I'm going to go to Pattern. I'm going to make it have 15 intervals, and that makes it a little bit smoother. You can also play around with this number here for how much of the lake it will fill in or if it will look more like a border. All right, right, that looks pretty good. The next thing we're going to change will be the trails. So we can click on the trail symbol over here. And we're still in that layers mode that we were in before, but if you weren't, then you would get something that looks like this. So what we want to do is stay in the layers mode. And then notice that down here, we have a dash effect. Click on dash effect, pick a dash style that you want, hit apply just to test it out. So those dashes are kind of large. You can play around with these numbers here. I'm going to make it 4, 4, and you can see what that does. You can keep playing with these numbers until you see something that you like. You can make them different numbers as well. And it really changes how the line looks. And that is how you make the ugly thing that we started with into this nice view. So here's that finished product again that we started with, and here's what we just did in about 5 minutes of time. The colors are a little bit different, but overall it's pretty much the same. You can tweak the colors, you can tweak the gradients, play around with transparency. I think I might actually want more transparency, so I'm going to go a little bit more on that, about 66. And there you have it. One last thing to remember though is that the order that it's listed here is the order that they'll draw in the map. Notice that we now have streams on top of lakes. We don't really want that, so we actually want to put the streams under the lake, and that makes it look a little bit better. Our lakes also still have an outline. You might want to get rid of that outline to make it look a little more natural. If we compare this map to the first one, you can see it doesn't quite look the same. The reason is it's a different base map underneath. So back to starting from scratch. What we want to do is go to map. The best one to use if you just need terrain underneath and you don't need all the other stuff is to use terrain with labels. And then the shaded relief has a little more contrast so you can see it better. Terrain with labels also has a reference layer, and those are the labels. So here we can see lake labels and places of interest and mountains and things like that. If you want those on, keep them, but you can also turn it off under World Terrain Reference. And then you have better terrain, sharper terrain underneath without the labels. Here's the first one that I showed you that we were trying to mimic. And here's the one we just created in just a few minutes. So there you have it. Great symbology in a few easy steps. I hope you can have some fun making your own great maps. Thanks for watching.